Hello, career thought leaders. Good to see you today. I wasn't sure we were going to make it today because I had to restart my computer to get the camera to work, but we're here and we're live. And we are going to be talking about, I called this one, you have to be there to win, right? You have to be present to win. And this is one of the challenges that I see with networking, that I see with people that are especially trying to use social media to network, is that when you're trying to use social media to network, you really have to have people there to network with. And we're going to look at some of the data of why that's so important. We'll also talk a little bit more about how recruiters are using these technologies. But the big point today is going to be that it's not recruiters that will likely get you your next job. And that is really important for us to talk about when we talk to our clients. So, we talk a lot about being in certain places so that recruiters can find you. But the reality is that in the US, especially, most jobs aren't filled by recruiters, right? They're filled by someone networking into a job. And we'll look at some of that data and then we'll talk about why that matters so much. So say hello, let me know that you can hear me, that you're here, and we are going to talk today about job search. Now, I know that people are struggling right now because job search has gotten tougher. I'm talking to more and more of you that have clients that are long-term job search and struggling to make the job search work. So let me know if that's your clients, if you're seeing that you're having more of that long-term job search. It is definitely becoming more common, especially in certain industries where everybody wants to be, right? Everyone wants to be in those high-paying jobs that have flexibility. And so those have gotten much more challenging to get a job in. And doesn't mean our client necessarily wants to look elsewhere, although sometimes there might be other industries that they might check out. It also just means that they might need to look in a little bit different way. So excellent. Hi, Karen. Good to see you. Good to see you, Kimberly. Hi, Anne. Good to see you. And yes. Hey, Norma. Good to see you. Excellent. So we are excited to be, back in our regular place. Last week, I guess I was at the regular place, but a different time so that I could fly off to the National Career Development Association. And I actually had one of our colleagues come up to me at that meeting and say, struggling with job seekers, just not getting any traction. It's been a long search. What can they do to have to have better job search outcomes? Hi, Gary. So here's the challenge with job search. It's not a linear process. So you can't say, do these things once and you'll get a job. And that is oftentimes where people struggle, right? They say, oh, I've networked and it's not working for me. Well, networking isn't a one-time thing. That'd be like someone saying, I marketed my business for 2 months and why don't I have business? It doesn't work that way. We have to continue to take the same actions. And in some ways, we can't tell the outcome is going to be a direct relationship to the process. So you might go to 6 different networking events and then the job comes out kind of out of left field, but it comes because you're making those relationships, you're making those connections, and you're building up the momentum. And that is really difficult to see. I mean, it's difficult in business. It's difficult in job search when you don't have an A plus B equals C. And we don't. And if we're telling anything else to job seekers, we're lying, right? I mean, there's not this secret sauce. We might put that in our marketing to get them to read it, but we know that that's really not true, that there isn't a formula. There are steps that they can take. There are actions that they can take that will make it more likely. However, they have to keep taking them. And that is where the challenge comes in. That's why people need a coach. If they just needed to read the how-tos and do it, it'd be easy. But it takes continual effort and continuous kind of resisting the desire to give up, to try something else, which may or may not actually be effective. And that experimentation is good as long as we don't give up the things that are part of an integral job search, even if they don't seem to be working yet. So in the kind of the Bible of job search, if you will. So Orville Pearson wrote a book a long time ago, and he was kind of one of the pieces that Lee Hecht Harrison picked up very early in the outplacement world. And it talks about, getting a job and how you can apply online and your hit rate there is going to be very low. But if you network, your hit rate's going to come faster, but it takes more effort, right? Applying online seemingly is easy, but then are you actually getting anywhere? And so I shared a resource today in my newsletter. I don't know if that's the right word for it. Every Tuesday, we put out something kind of on a specific topic that we're leading up to a course for. And the information that I shared today was from an organization that was looking at how do people actually get hired. So the source of hire is sometimes what the data is called, right? Where do we actually get people from when we're going to hire them? And it's a hard number to put your fingers on, right? It's hard to say, but what we do have is this data, and it's fairly similar to some of the job fight data we were looking at last week. But it says that people who get hired and where are they coming from? And this is a blog called Career Plug. And if you've got other resources, feel free to share them. I know that this lines up quite a bit with what I've seen in the past, and that's why I share it with you. But it's research that they looked at how do people actually get hired. And so they saw 1% job boards, 5% from a company's career page. And you'll remember that last week in that job fight study, we looked at how employers think people applying through their careers page is a high quality of hire. So it's a good quality of hire. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good number of hires that come from there. So when people are a good match there, it's yes, right? We're going to bring them right in. But it's not a huge number. This is important for us to note as we're doing job search kind of coaching, because we don't want to tell people to not apply to ads. That's just silly. That's like there being an RFQ or an RFP or whatever out there that's aligned perfectly to what you do and not responding to it. You want to have them apply to that job. We just also want them to be using it as a research tool, using it as a jumping off place to their networking. I mean, hopefully they've already networked into that company, so they're already a known quantity versus having to start their networking when they see a posting. But it's never too late to start. It's never too late to try, right? So we know that they're less likely to get a job from these sources, but that doesn't mean we want to leave them out altogether. Now, when you see referrals here, this is that, 22% of people in this study actually came from being a referral. And then this 22% from custom sources, that's kind of an interesting one because we're saying, okay, these are, niche job boards, maybe a Slack group, maybe a Discord group, maybe a Facebook group, maybe even a LinkedIn group. But this is where they're getting this. And so, you're saying we only have about 50% here. Yeah, I mean, you could go and dig through and see where the other 50% came from. My guess would be kind of a little bit of all over the place. But there you go, Jacqueline. That's the link if you want to grab that out of the chat. Oh, and the link doesn't show up on LinkedIn. I will go over and put that into LinkedIn later. It's kind of a bummer that it doesn't show up there. So I'll go in and put that link over in LinkedIn here in just a minute. But these are the main sources. And then you've got kind of a combination of other things as well. So that's one piece of data from, kind of where we get the employee referrals being so important. And is interesting. So there's this other data that shows where referrals come from in different industries. And this is fascinating. It's kind of an interesting way that they did the search. So they did this by digging through Glassdoor postings of people getting a job, and then how did they actually get that job? So here's the link to the next one we're going to look at. And this is one that is an interesting study of different companies and how different companies hire. It's a little advertisement for shorts, men's shorts for some reason. I have not been searching for that. Okay. Let's see. Let's see if we can get that off of there here. Maybe not. We might be stuck on it. Oh, such a fascinating study. All right. Well, I dropped the link for that one. Let me see if I can put it in a different browser window and if it will open up and let us do what I want to do. Ads, very ad full site here. Okay. Let me see if I can share that again. See if it works. Okay, so here we get this study. Like I said, they collected data through Glassdoor, and they got the companies that hire the most through referrals. And this is just fascinating. Big companies tend to actually not hire as much through referrals, but the smaller companies aren't going to show up on something like Glassdoor. So this is showing us, kind of what industries hire the most from referrals. So all companies, this one showed 11% from Glassdoor. So, that's just the people that report that that's how they were hired. I'm going to take a little with a grain of salt, but tech is the highest here. And then media, finance, clothing, and retail. And then it goes through the companies that had the most employees say that they got hired because of a referral. So it's just interesting data. There's some interesting trends to look through in terms of the types of companies and the types of companies that hire via referral versus not. So I'll drop that link in there as well, just to give you some ideas there. That's probably as big as it's going to get. And hopefully that's working out for you. But you can go to the link as well for that one. And I will drop that in. But all of this just to say that, remember, when we talk about using online tools for job search, it's not about just recruiters. It's about building the relationships with people so that you, one, could be a referral, or two, you could find out about other places that people might be recruiting from that aren't the big job boards where 1% of people are hired off of those job boards. So for some reason, this system only lets me drop the links to Facebook and YouTube, but I will circle back to LinkedIn and drop them into LinkedIn as well. Unfortunately, if I'm on LinkedIn while I'm live, you can hear me twice, so we don't want to do that, but I'll drop over to LinkedIn and put the links in after we're done. So main point, people like to hire from referrals. There's data from, last 10 years or so repeatedly over and over again, where it's about 80% of employers say they like to hire referrals. The number of people that actually get hired through referral, you saw that one study said 22, lots of other studies, say 30 to 50. So somewhere in that range of people who get hired, it's because they were a referral. So that's what we're thinking about when we're talking about networking and using online tools to network. It's not any different than you or I going to an in-person networking event. We're simply using digital opportunities to do it, hopefully a little bit more, a little bit broader, perhaps a little bit more where we can build relationships consistently. And how do we do that? How do we use the tools to do that? That's what we're talking about. And we talked a little bit about it last week in terms of the social media that you could use. And then we just wanted to follow up with that today, and specifically talking about how we can use the referral piece of it to get those jobs. So this is where that you have to be present to win thing comes in. So we see a lot of people that want to job search and want to use LinkedIn, which is great. We talk about referrals being there. We talk about those things, but that's unfortunately not a place to be if you want to actually network with people on a regular basis. So here's some data that I did also share in our newsletter last week, but I'll just share it again. So this is something that we share with our classes, our digital media classes. Always, makes people stop and think. But the monthly social app sessions, let me see, I'll get rid of this here. So when we think about people having to be there for you to network with them, if people aren't there on a regular basis, it makes it really hard to network, right? That's the underlying thing of what we're talking about. And so this is the monthly users for social media. Now you might think WhatsApp, how's my job seeker going to use WhatsApp? But remember, that's one of the ways that we want to think about networking is joining those chat groups, maybe Slack, Discord, whatever, but WhatsApp's in the same thread because people are there all the time. They're having those conversations all the time. This data is also a little bit skewed, of course, because you're looking at global, but don't go thinking that means LinkedIn is any better for your US job search because these numbers won't play out well for that either. Monthly active users are monthly active users. So then you've got Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Facebook Messenger, Telegram, which is another chat app, Snapchat, Twitter, and of course the things that are missing because they just don't hit this kind of thread are those industry groups. But what we're looking for is a place where your people are on a regular basis, not just recruiters, but the people you actually want to build relationships with. And that's why we talk about exploring all of the different channels where you might be able to job search in addition to using the more popular channels like LinkedIn. Yeah, and it's not an interaction between, someone saying it's not, and that's exactly why we're talking about these other channels, is because it's not about cold calling someone and ask if they refer you into a job. Most people will say no, right? Because it is their reputation on the line. This is a relationship that you want to build over time, where you're getting to know someone, where you're having conversations, hopefully, on a regular basis in a group, which is the whole reason we talk about using these channels. Is because when you get to know someone, then you can have that referral source. It's also part of why your former colleagues are one of the best ways to get new jobs, is because they already know, like, and trust you and can serve as that referral source for you. So you're thinking about how do you maintain relationships and how could you use these channels to do that? Yes, you can use LinkedIn to do that. But if the people that you want to engage with aren't there on a monthly basis, it's going to be really hard to stay in touch with them. That's why people use these other channels, is because you can have an ongoing conversation with someone. So then when there is an opportunity to ask for a referral, it's not out of the blue. It's not cold. It's not transactional. It's a growth out of a relationship that you already have with them because you've been interacting on LinkedIn, but you've also been regularly engaging in an ongoing conversation on probably another platform. If you're an engineer, those ongoing conversations just aren't happening on LinkedIn. They might be happening in an industry group. They might be happening in a Facebook group. They might be happening somewhere else, but it's likely not in LinkedIn because people just don't go there as frequently for that ongoing conversation. And that's what we want to create. And the whole goal is to have that interaction then lead to a conversation and a real back and forth professional, right? A real connection professionally where you're having conversations. And of course, that's not going to happen with everyone. This is also part of the beauty of being in a group, is then you can have some, I'll say public, but I just mean, in a group, you can have some engagement with the other people in the group and other people see that. So it's like going to that networking event, but now when I'm talking to one person, everybody can hear it. And when that is beneficial to them, I'm now known to all of them instead of just to that one person I'm having that interchange with. This is our challenge for our clients, is to find somewhere where this conversation feels somewhat organic, because it shouldn't be something they're forcing. It shouldn't be something that feels manufactured, although it might at first, right? But eventually it should feel like going to those professional events where I want to go, I want to engage with the conversation. I'm excited to talk to people. That's what we're looking for. And the communities, the industry conversation that we can get involved in, that will create that. So as a coach, that's my goal, is to help my client find those gems and to try to keep my mind open in terms of where they might find those gems, because it might be something that I wouldn't expect, that they wouldn't expect, might be on a platform that they've never heard of, or a platform that they think they don't like. You like Twitter, but our goal is really to just do the research and figure out where are these conversations happening that I can plug in on a regular basis, and people are going to be there having these conversations on a regular basis. And then we can say, okay, so what actions do you want to take on a regular basis to stay engaged? And for some people, that might need to be a little bit more thoughtful, right? A little more planned, especially at the beginning. Questions could you ask? What resources could you share? And I'll just say you want to be careful with sharing articles, because nobody's got time to read that. So we actually don't allow article sharing in my Facebook group. I cull through them. I let a few go through every once in a while. But if you post an article, nobody reads it. And so then the post doesn't get seen by anyone because no one responds and it flops. So if you're going to share insights from something, you need to capture those insights in the post. And then you can put the link wherever you want to put the link, although it's better in most platforms if the preview of the article doesn't show up. But it's really about something people can engage with without having to go read an article. And it's even better if you ask a question, ask for advice. And Kimberly, I know you're here. Kimberly always says this, right? People love to give advice. So it's fine to ask for advice in a way that, doesn't undermine your credibility. And we can help them do that. What advice could you ask for, or, what could you share that people can align with, that they can, commiserate with, or don't want to be overly negative or whiny, but, something that people can understand and align with and then respond. And we don't have to do that right away. We can start by commenting on what people do post so that we can engage with them. And I think I just did this on my radio show yesterday, but I didn't do it here last week, I don't think. So here's the 3-part comment that really works on any platform. You just have to adjust it a little bit for the different platforms. So the first thing is that I want to compliment the person who's made the post. So I don't have to agree with them. Say, thanks for bringing up that topic, or that's a great question, or whatever it might be. And in this part of the comment, it's great if I tag them, because then they'll get notified that I'm responding to their post or to their comment. You can do this. You can comment on a comment with the same idea. Then you want to do something that shares your credibility. So a statement, a story, a little bit of what you found helpful in if they shared an article or whatever. It needs to be aligned with your brand. Positive, even if you're disagreeing, it can be positive. This is what I think. This is what I read. Don't have to be confrontational and picking at the person. You just share what you think. Now, in this part, don't self-promote. So you don't necessarily want to post a link to your article or to your class, because that starts to feel like you're not really there to help me. You're there to take the stage and run with it, right? So you don't necessarily want to self-promote. You just want to share your insights, your thoughts, add to the conversation. And then in the end of the comment, ideally, you would ask the person a question. What do you think about that, or whatever, to keep the conversation going. You can also bring someone else into the conversation at the end of that comment. So, Kimberly's an excellent networker. Hey, Kimberly, what do you have to say about this? So that's my 3 parts. You compliment, you add your credibility, and then you build community by either asking a question the original poster can respond to, or by tagging someone else into the conversation. And that's where I have all of my job seekers start, is commenting first, whether they join a Facebook group or they're on LinkedIn, wherever they are, that they're just doing that first to build relationships, but also to start to see and really pay attention to what types of content is being shared, so that then they can kind of follow suit when they're ready to share their content. But that's just one of the things you can do in any of these platforms. Got a whole checklist for every platform of the actions that you can take to build your visibility, to build your relationships based on whichever platform you choose and what is most comfortable to your job seeker to get started. So we look forward to that conversation with our clients, really about an open, it's an open conversation about what they can do, which platforms they could choose, how they could get engaged in the platform, and what their main purpose is there, which is really to build relationships. And that's the number one mistake that many job seekers make, is that they go there trying to build visibility instead of going there trying to build relationships. So if you're interested in getting more of the process and getting the checklists, we start this course next week, next Wednesday, our social media for job search strategy. And it's not about brand building and posting really at all. It's about how do you find and build relationships strategically and as quickly as possible with people that can help you get a job. Because this, we're talking about job search and the direct as possible of actions that you can take to make the job search faster. And versus, our digital branding class, where we talk about building your visibility and your brand and your thought leadership. All of those things are great, but they take longer time. And often for our job seekers, that's not really their goal yet. Maybe long-term we can help them get there, but their immediate goal is to find a job. So that's the process that we go through. Overall, as you're working with your clients, I just encourage you to help them keep an open mind and explore with curiosity of the different places that they might find where they can build and engage with community, so that then they can build those relationships that, as someone was saying on LinkedIn, those relationships are really where it's at. It's not a transaction. It's more about getting that job. Yes. Oh, yeah. COO, Facebook great group. I think we get this in our head that executives are some like non-people. They're not on Facebook. They're not this. And we just have to keep challenging our thoughts around that and do the research and let the research show you where are your clients' colleagues and peers. And I'm excited because we're having our Tech Jam in a few weeks. We're going to bump Tech Jam to the end of the month because I needed to get some great people for you to hear from. But we do have a person from Findem confirmed, and she's going to talk about Findem. But I reached out to Findem and I said, tell me about what types of, what levels of positions your recruiters are using Findem to fill. And they said mid to upper level. So these technologies and helping your clients build visibility, as well as find, actual job search people to talk to, it does matter for all levels. And in fact, I think it matters even more for executives, and we can help them find the communities that will get them moving in the right direction. So thank you, everyone. And we are going to be back here next Trend Tuesday, talking about the now, the new, and the next. We do have some great research that's come out recently on how job seekers are feeling about the economy, also how employers are feeling, some PricewaterhouseCoopers data around what executives are looking to do. So we'll be talking more about that next week, kind of the future of work and where it's headed, so that if you've been looking at some of that data too, let me know if you've seen something that we should bring in, and we'll look at that next week. So we'll see you next Tuesday for the now, the new, and the next in careers. Thank you, everyone.